Okay, how can I put this? KDB is back. Like, we knew he was coming back at some point in the season, and we knew that he was going to make a real difference. But I've been watching a lot of analysis of why Liverpool are going to win the league, why Arsenal are going to win the league, why so many people are competing for something this season. And it seemed that part of the reason City weren't competing, even just a week ago, was because, well, there was an X factor that seemed to be missing. There were still a lot of the pieces that they needed to be put together, and there were still a lot of new shoots coming through, such as Oscar Bob and, other young or new signings. We've obviously seen some brilliant Doku moments, and we're still seeing that Pep Guardiola is tinkering with that formation or multiple formations or lots of different things. We'll talk about that in a second. But KDB returning, and by the way, KDB returning against Newcastle in the Oil Derby, and also returning as a sub, and Pep Guardiola changing things in an almost, dare I say, Jurgen Klopp this season-esque type way, should have people worried. This comes with a couple of caveats, but clearly in the time that KDB was in the field, what was on display was frightening. First of all, the first goal was pretty much a classic KDB goal. Not the kind of goal that if you're a fan of another team, you particularly get off your seat and go, what a strike. Because it looks as if he passes the ball from the edge of the box into the back of the net, and everyone just sort of goes, did that just trickle in? Or is that could you have dived a little faster? But he places it so perfectly, there is enough pace on the ball to get it past the keeper, and everyone seems misplaced, but at the same time, everyone is almost perfectly where they're supposed to be. Maybe apart from the Newcastle defender, who could have shut him down a little quicker. Though, of course, that is partly exactly why KDB gets into exactly that position, because City constantly have you on the back foot. And they had Newcastle on the back foot for so much of this game. Both of Newcastle's goals came from either counter-attacks or moments where City were just kind of allowing Newcastle back so they could win the ball back. Brilliant goal from Isak, brilliant goal from Gordon, but ultimately, again, Newcastle were found wanting when the manager of an opposition side changes things. When they ultimately go, right, we're just going to move things around a little bit here. And at the same time, Newcastle always look tired right now. There are plenty of reasons why we shouldn't really talk or blame Newcastle for this, though there are a lot of talking points with Newcastle. Second goal for KDB, or the second goal which KDB was involved in, because obviously the first City goal, really nice goal, like a magician's moment from Bernardo Silva, the guy who was subbed off for KDB, and I'll get onto that in a second. But at that point, it was 1-0. At that point, it felt a little bit academic. At that point, it felt a little bit like, uh-oh, what could this be? And, the night felt like it was going to go slightly differently. Back to KDB's third goal, or the third goal for City, which was really KDB's, which was really also Oscar Bob's. KDB is sitting in that quarterback type position. I call that the quarterback position now, rather than further down the field, where he can basically just dictate play. If the ball wants to go out wide because he wants it wants to go out wide. If he wants to cut between the lines, he can. If he wants to enable someone else on the field, he can. He did. It was a brilliant piece of footwork. It was desperate defending from Newcastle, which at that point you kind of expected. They'd been under the cosh for quite a while. There was quite a clear trend in the game that there were going to be waves and waves of City, and in the end, the waves overwhelmed Newcastle. Not really to the detriment of Newcastle. Newcastle weren't equipped well enough to deal with City for an entire game. The best hope they had was doing what they were doing, and so credit to Newcastle for playing the way they played. But when he then plays a ball like that, a ball which feels like a classic KDB ball, an almost classic ball of this era, then the only thing you can do is sit back and wait for a result. It completely took the defence out of it. The defence had to run back. By that point, Oscar Bob is already shimmying around one player. He's already shifting it between feet, and then he's putting it around the goalkeeper, and then he's halfway down the field. Rodri is already almost celebrating with him at that point, and KDB is just kind of standing there going, yeah, I did that. And now I have this great hair. It's quite thick hair now. The hair has changed quite a bit in the time that he's been gone. And it feels like he's maybe dyed it. I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. But here he is, making City tick and doing something which I think a lot of people would have said, that's kind of where Liverpool are going to have an edge this season. They have multiple different shapes of attack. Now, even without KDB, you could say that City don't have multiple different shapes of attack. You could say City have, the Doku side, or the Grealish side, or the Haaland element, or the Alvarez element. I know people are injured within this, but if you name their full starting lineup when everyone is fit, similar to any Liverpool side or any Arsenal side, City have a very strong comparable team out there. Foden could look like he's in that front line, though. He's much more midfieldy this season. And obviously, if you've got someone like a Bernardo Silva, you're looking to exploit that out on the right a lot more, though he seems to be dropping in. There is this brilliant kind of wingers drop inside and like constant rotation inside, outside, centrally, which again is classic Pep Guardiola. What I really enjoy about the City side when they have KDB in there is there is a different kind of dynamism. There is a different kind of energy. The ball moves differently. Similar to when any other side has their guy who sets the pace in the team, City have that pace guy. Now, what I will caveat this with is when it's early games back for someone like KDB, teams aren't going to know how to deal with him. A, in this Pep Guardiola system. B, just him in general, because, well, how are you meant to know when they're going to play KDB? How are you meant to know if he's going to play or not? And even when he did play and you were briefed on him, you couldn't really stop him then. So even if he does play now and we don't know how long he's going to play, well, what then? So Newcastle might not have been as well equipped as some other sides might be. Other sides in previous seasons, in order to beat Man City, would sit on him or would make it more difficult for him than Newcastle did. Newcastle looked pretty tired by that point. Newcastle also, I don't think they're expecting this shift, though in the Premier League now, if you're playing on the top sides, expect the shift. KDB is enabling a shift that previously City didn't really have in the same way. They had great players, they had different skill sets which they could bring on to try and unlock an opposition, and they've done that before in this season. But KDB just unlocks a whole other set of things. It's like a whole other side of this Swiss Army knife that Pep has to him. So that's another reason to be scared. It's another reason why people should not count City out. And to be fair to most people, they hadn't counted City out purely because of this exact reason. What I want to say about rotation is kind of the key here, right? Like, other teams could rotate. And, we knew that Rodri was complaining about not being rotated enough. We knew that there were a couple of players who were getting a bit older. We knew that they wanted to reinvigorate this midfield with a Bellingham or a Rice or someone like that who would have fundamentally changed so much of what they could achieve this season. KDB being out and coming back changes that rotation in the same way as Arsenal tried to rotate Trossard and Martinelli and all these different people, and Liverpool try and rotate Diaz and Jota and Kakpo and Nunez and, well, now Salah and someone else. Like, this rotation, these changes, these units they can bring on, this in reinvigoration, not only the energy but the ideas that come onto the field, is key to City doing something in this title race this season. There are only a couple of points off the top, which is Liverpool right now, and City hunting, City changing, City just getting that little kick, having the extra gear from KDB and the changes they can make, the players he can find. Imagine the combination of him and Doku. Imagine the combination of him and Haaland when Haaland comes back in Feb. Imagine all these different combos that KDB has. That is scary, because if we're thinking about other teams that have got combos, they are scary. But City, there's a formidable nature to the way that KDB is handling himself, feeling himself, talking. And there are even rumours that this is a last dance type scenario for him, where at the end of the season, if KDB wins something here, or even if he doesn't, he might be off from City because, well, look at what he's achieved. One last dance? Oh, I don't want to do that for City. I want to do that for Liverpool. There's a couple of last dance scenarios going on in the league. There's a couple of heartbreaks getting set up. That's interesting. Yeah, rotation is the thing, though. Rotation and being able to change your units in an almost NFL, NBA style of like, hey, you're off the bench, you're on the bench, you're off the bench, you're on the bench, kind of, we're going to change the shape, we're going to change what we're doing, that's going to confuse your players. KDB is ideal for that. And obviously the smart players that start the game, or KDB starts the game and another smart player comes on, that's just going to win City games just purely from doing that. To finish on the other end of the field, I don't know at this point, while recording the video, where Ederson is at, but Ederson obviously went off injured. And I think Ederson, Alisson and whoever Arsenal have in goal, if they trust that guy, if they feel like that guy's the title-winning guy, feel like title-deciding players. Distribution-wise, Ederson is definitely that. Distribution-wise, Alisson definitely influences the team. Save-wise, Alisson definitely influences the team. Just play-wise, both of them influence the shape of the team, how deep their biggest or most A-side central defender has to be, how deep the other central defender has to be to try to help that guy. They enable so much more within the team. So I get that, like, there needs to be something more there in order to have it. Like, they need Edison in order to win this title. And if they win it without Edison, I think it may be because they dip in January. Ortega was good. Like, Ortega's a fine goalkeeper as a backup. But then also most people go, well, clearly not. Look what happened. But they were two brilliant finishes, two brilliant goals from Newcastle. And a lot of the time, most people aren't going to finish like that. Like, Isak is an elite finisher, and Gordon kind of caught them on the hop, which was weird because you shouldn't keep catching anyone on the hop. But like, it was such an of-the-moment shot. Do you get what I mean? So if Edison's not in the team, I get it. Like, that is a weaker side. That could be title deciding for either Liverpool, City, or Arsenal. Or if, you want to put Villa in there, let's talk about Villa. But you get my point. Like, yeah, we could even put a World Cup winning goalkeeper in there this season as well, right? Yeah. But Edison and Alisson are so key to what is going on. Everyone has identified them. Alisson probably even more key than Edison, but Edison still very key for City. There is a spine there. And maybe the Rodri factor and the KDB factor and just the control factor for City means that they won't need to worry quite as much if they don't have him in there. But it's just something worth flagging. If there is that injury, if there is that weakness, the run that City have coming up, the easy run that they have coming up in early Feb, all the way down to sort of late Feb, and then the tricky March, you're almost like, you don't want it. You don't want Edison to be out when there is an opposition side who can counterattack, City's biggest title deciding part of the season, by the way, is March, because that's a very tricky run of games. They'll probably have more Champions League games in that time because they will beat Copenhagen over 2 legs in the Champions League. And that's way, way trickier than the seemingly, not simple, but seemingly, hey, City should do that, especially now KDB's back, especially now there is someone to, do all that stuff, and they're getting more people back. You get what I mean? Anyway, Pep looked very happy. It was very peppy that Oscar Bob scored. Oscar Bob looks so peppy. He looks so Barcelona. Do you get what I mean? Same day that obviously Newcastle have got a lot of injury issues. City getting someone back. Yeah. I saw that clip of the 16-year-old scoring for Barca this week. Felt a bit Barca-y, didn't it? But I mean, like, when Barca at their peak. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We have a Patreon, by the way, and if you want to get involved, there's a Discord attached to it, which we're trying to get people from the Patreon to the Discord right now. And also you can join the Discord you can join it for free, but then there's like a Patreon section. So if you want to support the channel, you want to support the content we are going to make and are making right now, let me know. If you want to support just the Liverpool section, there is a Liverpool channel as well. And please let me know what you think of the Patreon, what you'd like to see on it. And we'll see you again real soon right on this channel. Much love, guys. Bye.